All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to take a really deep dive into the origins of a legendary epic and a cultural heritage that honestly still echoes across the globe today. We're traveling way back in time to an era where the endless horizons of the Eurasian steppes seemed to just stretch on forever, and the sky literally painted its colors directly onto the earth. We're going to uncover the true weight of an ancient name, a name that struck absolute terror into enemies while offering an unbreakable shield to his own people. So get ready, because we are unpacking the story of one of history's most genuinely fascinating figures. Let's start right in the middle of a mystery. Consider this ancient, just incredibly heart-wrenching poem. Did Tunga die? Did fate take its revenge? Did time take its revenge? Now the heart is torn. I mean, who is this great man? Who is this leader whose sudden death literally tore the hearts of his people apart and made the sky turn the color of mourning? To evoke this kind of raw generational grief, a leader has to be far, far more than just a ruler. They kind of have to be the very soul of a culture. To really understand those tears and the profound sorrow in that poem, we have to first meet the legend at the very dawn of his awe-inspiring life. Long before the grief, there was a beginning. A time when the Turkic people lived in a world where survival meant adapting to a vast, completely untamed landscape. And out of this intense environment, a hero was born. A leader whose physical presence was said to cross mountains and whose strategic mind dictated the terms of both war and peace. There is just sheer psychological power embedded directly into his name. Break it down. Alp means brave, Er means man, and Tunga, well, that translates to a tiger, or a powerful feline predator. It's brilliantly clear that his very name was designed to strike fear right into the hearts of his enemies. It completely symbolizes the speed, the power, and the predatory strength of the steppe. The wolf and the tiger were the ultimate symbols of speed and hunting prowess, and he wore that identity like armor. He rode his horse like an absolute storm, sweeping across the plains. And here's the thing, he wasn't just a myth. He was a very real, monumental leader. He's recognized as the greatest legendary leader of the Sakas, or the Scythians, which historical sources point to as the very first Turkic state or community in history. His mission wasn't just mindless conquest either. It was about uniting the nomadic Turkic tribes under a single banner, the banner of the sky god, Tengri. He wanted to establish justice across the land and protect his people from some seriously mounting external threats. He wasn't just a warrior, he was essentially the architect of a civilization. Now, as you might guess, his rapid rise to power inevitably triggered a sprawling, epic conflict. We're talking about the vast, untamed wealth and nomadic power of the East and the North colliding head-on with the established, heavily opulent palaces of the South, specifically the Iranian empires. This was no minor border dispute. This was a fundamental struggle for dominance, a relentless war of civilizations that would kick up the dust of history for generations to come. This dual framing we see perfectly captures his complex historical footprint. To his own people, he was Alp Tunga, the great uniter bringing justice under the sky. But look at how the Persians recorded him in their great epic, the Shahnameh. They called him Afrasiab, and while he was their absolute greatest enemy, they wrote about him with immense respect. They described him as this giant, formidable, almost superhuman opponent. I think this proves just how undeniable his power truly was. Even his bitter enemies couldn't help but stand in awe of him. But this struggle wasn't just some simple war of swinging swords and brute force against figures like the Iranian ruler Kakavas and his undefeated hero, Rustem. Oh no, it was a high-stakes war of wits and mind games. We're talking brilliant cavalry maneuvers, feints, and intense psychological warfare. Alp Tunga was a master tactician. He knew the terrain, he knew his horses, and he knew exactly how to outsmart heavily armored armies. On the open battlefield, facing him was virtually a death sentence. He was simply invincible in fair combat. However, all of this built to a truly heartbreaking climax. The invincible warrior of the battlefield, the master tactician who could outsmart any army, would eventually face a tragic turn that absolutely no shield could block. Because, well, when your enemies realize they cannot defeat you on the battlefield, they retreat to the shadows. And unfortunately, that is exactly what the Iranian rulers did. The tragic reality is stark. Invited to a banquet under the guise of peace by the Iranian ruler Kakavus, our brave leader walked in honorably, but it was a total trap. He was ambushed and cowardly assassinated. The crucial takeaway here is this shocking betrayal. The great tiger of the steppe wasn't bested in a test of strength or military strategy. No, he was murdered in cold blood at a dinner table. It proved once and for all that he could only be defeated through absolute treachery, not combat.
But you see, true legends don't just disappear when they fall. This tragic betrayal didn't just end a life, it actually gave rise to an entire literary tradition of mourning. The pain of his loss was so immense, so incredibly deep within the cultural psyche of the Turkic people that it just had to be poured out into words. His death sparked a creative mourning process that would literally lay the foundation for centuries of art.
Notice how deeply his death echoed through history. That poem we read at the very beginning of this explainer, that's a sagu, a traditional elegy, and it's widely considered the very first masterpiece of Turkic mourning literature. It was so foundational that it was meticulously documented centuries later by the renowned scholar Kashgarli Mahmud in his 11th century dictionary, the Divanu Lugati Turk. And it doesn't stop there. In the Kutadgu Bilig, another heavy-hitting 11th century text by Yusuf Has Hajib, he's explicitly praised not just for his strength, but for his immense wisdom. He wasn't just a warrior. He was remembered as a philosopher king of the steppe. Now you might be wondering, why does all of this matter to us today? Well, let's fast forward and see how this ancient tragedy directly connects to the tangible history you can actually go out and explore right now. We aren't just talking about fading text on fragile parchment here. We are talking about physical, golden history that you can see with your own eyes. His story is quite literally the key to unlocking these incredible artifacts. Just look at these cultural footprints. The grief of his people codified the Yug ceremonies, these ancient, elaborate mourning traditions. It led to the construction of massive kurgans, which are ancient burial mounds designed specifically for legendary kings. And what was inside those mounds? The absolutely breathtaking Scythian gold. These people were literally known as the jewelers of the steppe. If you walk through museum routes today in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, or Turkey, and you stand in front of the intricate golden armor of the Golden Man, you are looking at the direct cultural legacy of Alp Ertanga. His narrative provides this highly vivid intercultural bridge between the mythologies of the East and the West. Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative question. Is a hero truly dead if his elegy is still being read thousands of years later? Think about it. Kiekovers probably thought he won when he set that cowardly trap at the banquet. But if Albert Tunga's story continues to shape magnificent literature, fills world-class museums with golden artifacts, and forms the foundational heritage of an entire culture millennia later, did that ambush truly defeat him? Or did it just make him completely immortal? I highly encourage you to look deeper into the artifacts of the sagas, and I really hope this explainer gave you a powerful new perspective on the tiger of the steppe.